always nice when technology works the very first time you try it. Here we are going over PO9, which is actually our first objective of the year, but it's stuff that you didn't get last year, and so we're covering all of our bases now. This whole unit is going to be on exponent rules, and it's going to be helpful for us to kind of go back and just define everything that's involved in a power, from the exponent itself to the base to coefficients. We talk about expanded form. And so what's an exponent? What is a power? The names are interchangeable. Doesn't matter what you want to call it. But what are they? What's their purpose? Let me put it like that. What's the purpose?
It's a small number above the big number, and that times itself is the answer.
Okay, so in an exponent expression such as 3x squared, the exponent or the power is that little raised number. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Gino.
You multiply it times itself by how many number there is?
Yeah, the exponent tells you how many times you multiply something by itself. Okay, and what we call that is repeated multiplication. Okay, repeated multiplication. It's not like when math was first being rolled out. We started with all the operations that we have today. First it was kind of, Grog said 2 rocks and 3 rocks make 5 rocks, and Thog clapped, because he was correct. And then we started with multiplying. Because that is repeated addition. It's a faster way to add the same number to itself over and over and over again. 6 times 8 is really just 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. It's 6 added to itself 8 times. And so then for a power, that's showing repeated multiplication. Rather than writing 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, we can say the same thing by just saying 3 to the 6th power. And as Gino said, that 6 tells you how many times, how many 3's are being multiplied together. Okay? The base of an exponent expression. Going back to our 3x squared here as an example, we said 2 is the exponent or the power. What's the base of that expression? Blake, Drake. Why do I keep saying Blake? Drake. Not the whole thing. The base would be just the x, actually. Okay? The base is what the power is attached to. Okay? What the power is attached to. And really, that's what this whole objective is kind of focusing on, is being able to differentiate between the base of an expression and other stuff. Right? Because what does 3x squared actually mean? Like 3 to the 6th actually means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. What does 3x squared actually mean?
3 times 3.
That x is a variable here. Okay?
3 times x
3 times
times x.
x times x. Okay? That exponent does not apply to the 3. You're probably saying, well, why is that? Well, I can tell you. It goes back to PERMDAS. It goes back to the order of operations. This says 3 times x squared, exponents coming before multiplication. That exponent is only attached to the variable. There's only one. There's only one 3. Okay? And x times x. Yeah?
So for the exponent to apply to all of them, it has to be in parentheses, correct?
Correct. And I think we get to some of that on the page down below. Yeah, if we wanted to include the 3 with the power, then parentheses, we know they trump everything, right? It would be 3x in parentheses with the exponent on the outside. Okay. So then what is that 3? That 3 is called a coefficient. Okay. It is multiplied by the base, or multiplied with the base, I should say. But here's the important thing. It is not affected by the exponent. Okay? It is multiplied with the base, so it is 3 times x, right? But it's not affected by the power. There's still only 1 3. An expanded form is writing an exponent expression as repeated multiplication. Okay? Writing an exponent expression as repeated multiplication. Now, if you remember back from last year on your help sheet, you can put all these definitions, all these wise old owls on it to be, well, helpful. But then the Mr. Happy Pencil section, the homework section, that cannot go on there. Yes, sir?
Is it possible for there not always to be a coefficient?
Indeed. As it's written. Like if we just have, n to the fourth, if I ask you what the coefficient to that is, it would be correct to say there isn't one, but it would also be correct to say there is one because there's one, right? There is one because it's technically one. But if you said that there wasn't one, that'd be fine too. Okay? Questions on this so far? All right. Going on down to Mr. Happy Pencil. So I have to, I got to put this down. Can never remember the order. There you go. Your job is to identify the coefficient, the base, and the exponent. Then write each term as an expression in expanded form. Finally, when there is a variable, evaluate it when n equals 2. So a lot of stuff to do, which is why I have a lot of space to do it with. The first one, 2n to the fifth. What is our coefficient in that expression? 2n to the fifth. Drake. 2. Put a little c down there. What's our base? Joey. N. We'll put a b there. And what's our exponents?
5.
Mackie, 5. Put an e there. Okay? And then in expanded form, what does that say? 2n to the fifth in expanded form. Yeah.
It's 2 times n times n times n times n times n.
Exactly. Okay? There are not 5 2's because that coefficient is not part of the base. It's not affected by the power. Okay? And then if we evaluate this when n equals 2, well, it turns out that we have now 6 2's all being multiplied. Our coefficient happens to be a 2 as well. But what does that end up being? What's 2 to the 6th power? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times. Drake. 64. Very good. Okay. Negative 10n cubed. What's our coefficients? Is that one? Negative 10. What's our base? Anybody? Good. N. And what's our exponent? Anybody? 3. Okay. In expanded form, just like we saw in the last example, that negative 10 being a coefficient, not part of the base, not part of the power. So negative 10 times n times n times n. When we plug in 2 for n, what do we get? Caleb.
Negative 80.
Negative 80. Okay. So then we get to maybe that last one in this row here where we have some parentheses. We have n cubed to the 2nd power, that n cubed being in parentheses. Is there a coefficient written? There is not. If you were required to put 1, you just put a 1. Okay. There's no coefficient written. What is our base here? Drake. N is a base, but so is n is a base, but so is n cubed, right? Because both of those, n and n cubed, are attached to a power. In expanded form, what this would look like is we're squaring n cubed. So we have n cubed times itself. Further expanded form would be what? How many n's do we have here being multiplied total? If we were to put this out even further, Blake? 6 of them total, right? Because each of these n cubes is like an n times an n times an n, and we have another n times an n times an n. Because we're just multiplying straight across, we don't need those parentheses there anymore. And so we have 6 n's all being multiplied. Okay? So when you have more than one power, you've got to account for them both. Kind of work from the outside in. What's being squared? N cubed. What does n cubed mean? N times n times n. And then, of course, you would solve it for when n equals 2. Let's look at the bottom row there, those last two. Slight difference in how they're written, right? Negative n to the fourth with no parentheses, and then negative n in parentheses with that exponent of 4 on the outside. In the first one here, what's our coefficient? What's our base? What's our exponent? Be careful. Be careful. Anyone bold enough to? Mackie.
Are the things in the parentheses coefficients?
Let's talk about this one first, the one without parentheses. Coefficient, base, power. What do you think, Joey?
I think the coefficient's -1.
Well done, sir. You're absolutely right. Okay, it is a -1. And if you're asked for the coefficient with a negative sign, you do need to write the -1 because the negative sign is kind of your coefficient, but you have to have a number there, and it's -1, which means that whatever n to the fourth is, we're just making that negative. Is that negative sign part of the exponent? Is that negative sign affected by the power? No. No. So our base is only n. Our exponent is a 4. In expanded form, we've got n times n times n times n, and that negative sign is just out in front, almost like a -1 times n times n times n times n. Where this came up last year was with parabolas, right? If you were solving an equation like x squared plus 5x minus 12, and your x value was negative, if you were testing an x value of -3, and I said, don't just put it in your calculator like that because it's going to mess you up. This is why. Because written like that, the negative sign's not it's not getting squared. Okay? But if x is -3 and we're squaring that whole x value, that's why you needed parentheses around it. Right? So that's kind of where it comes up in algebra later on, which is why this is PO9 and parabolas are PO59. So how is that different from when we have parentheses there? Okay? In this case, our coefficient, our base, and our exponent's still 4. What's our coefficient, our base? Let's start with the base. What's being taken the fourth power here, Peter? -n. Okay? Here that negative sign is included. So instead of -1 times n times n times n times n, now it's -n times -n times -n times -n. Why that matters is because if we're testing these with n being 2, -1 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is what? -16. However, over here, plug in 2 for n, -2 times -2 times -2 times -2 is what? +16. Okay? Big difference. right? So it is very important to pay attention to parentheses. It's very important to understand and think about this in expanded form. What's actually being taken to the power? Questions so far? Yes, sir.
It's not a question.
Oh.
The C, B, and E
Yeah.
look like their own versions of a smiley face sideways.
Thank you, Joe. I love how you're always looking for the bright side of things. Anything else? Okay, moving on to the next page. More stuff with expanded form. This time you don't have to identify the coefficient, the base, or the power. This time you are either you're writing it in expanded form and then evaluating for when n is 2 and when y is 3 when that applies. So looking at this page, any that you want to talk about that look particularly fun, entertaining, worth our time to talk about together. Blake. The 10y to the fourth. Okay. What about that one is worthy of our discussion? It's got everything. Sure. Okay. So first of all, in expanded form, our numerator, 10 times y times y times y. Again, that 10 is that coefficient, not affected by the power. Our denominator, 5 times n times n times n times n times n. Okay. Do you have a question on it or you just wanted to see it? Okay. Because once you kind of get it into expanded form, now it's just plugging in the values. Our value for y was 3, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And our value for n was 2. So it becomes 10 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and 5 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And you can solve it out from there.
So we divide 810, or well, the number on top divided by the number on the bottom.
So this ends up being 810 as your numerator, and what, 160? So yeah, you should simplify that fraction. Which, I mean, really, since they both end in a 0, you just get those out of there. You have 81/16, and that's as far as you can go anyway. So, okay. All right. Expanded form. There you go. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, comments, congratulations, or criticisms? My philosophy in homework has not changed. I'm not grading on right and wrong, just that you do everything. And remember, this, okay, unless it also includes like stains from your tears, that doesn't tell me that you actually tried anything, right? I need to see what you did. If you say, I didn't even know where to start, well, even me, if my car breaks down on the road, it starts smoking or whatever, I at least open the hood. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I at least do something, okay? I mean, just do something, all right? But I grade on completion. This year, if you don't have an assignment complete, it will go into Educate as missing because of the new Monday after school club. And so get your homework done is basically what I'm saying. This class generally does pretty well done anyway, but get your homework done. Generally, I said. Generally.
How many times did we play the number game last year?
There's always room for improvement, Tomorrow is your first opportunity for the number game. You can go 1 for 1. Just get it done. I believe in you. Blake. Blake's got the floor. Go ahead.
So if I am throwing out a problem, then it's excused if I don't finish it?
If I can legitimately see the stains of your tears, and tear stains are different from water stains,
That sounds like a song.
right? It does sound like a song. I should get on writing that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, but don't abuse that policy. Save it for when it really counts.
Save it for like one of
I wouldn't use it on this one here. Yeah, it would be. Anything else? All right. This is due tomorrow, as all assignments are due the next day. You remember the outro? That's how you math. No, I have to say. Can we do this right? Can we end on a high note? That is how you math.